Thank you, Honourable Chair. Honourable Speaker, a few weeks ago I asked the Minister of Forest Lands and Natural Resource Operations and Rural Development when BC would stop spraying our forests with
It is important.
Honourable Speaker, it's interesting as I got interrupted by a member opposite suggesting that asking about this is not important. Rather, what's important, it seems to me, is the frankly shocking games that I'm watching going on here. So, Honourable Speaker, to the member of West Kelowna who doesn't think the issue of glyphosate spraying in British Columbia forests is important, I continue. Glyphosate kills the species that provide an essential line of defence against wildfires and pine beetle. In the member's riding itself, in the riding of Kelowna West, we have pine and we have wildfire that he should be concerned about. Maybe he should be spending some time on this issue, Honourable Speaker. Speaker, glyphosate harms human health and animal health. It's symptomatic of 20th century forest management practices, and as reported in Business in Vancouver last week, BC's forest industry is currently undergoing falling lumber prices, production cuts, and staff layoffs. We need, Honourable Speaker, to change our forest practices now if we are going to have flourishing, sustainable ecosystems in industry. Now, I recognize again, Honourable Speaker, that forestry is not an important issue for the members opposite, but it is on this side of the House. And for that, Honourable Speaker, I ask the following question to the Minister of Forest, Lands and Natural Resources. What evidence is the Minister still gathering to make a decision about the ongoing use of glyphosates, given that the evidence seems to be very clear that we should stop now?
Minister of Forest, Lands and Natural Resources.
I welcome the question from the Leader of the Third Party. I welcome the question because it's of interest to people in rural areas, and natural resource management is of interest to people across the province, Honourable Speaker. We're committed to protecting the important biodiversity of forests while ensuring a continued vibrant forest sector. As the member knows, the herbicide glyphosate is approved by Health Canada for weed control and is used selectively in northern BC to improve survival and growth of seedlings and young trees. Recently, the ministry started to allow increased levels of aspen and broadleafs in managed stands throughout BC, which will lead to a further decline in the use of herbicides. And in fact, in certain ecosystems, up to 1,000 aspen per hectare are acceptable in conifer plantations. Overall, the use of glyphosate is decreasing. We will continue to look at any evidence to improve silviculture strategies in the province.
Leader of the Third Party on supplement.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Indigenous peoples have managed forests for their ecological, cultural and economic value for thousands of years. There's substantial traditional knowledge surrounding forest management, and every recent report on forestry and fire has highlighted the need for Indigenous collaboration and leadership. Another issue, clearly not an important question for the member from Kelowna West, is this. UBC has proposed a national Indigenous forestry school for their Okanagan campus, Honourable Speaker. If developed, this program will establish a holistic curriculum that integrates Indigenous knowledge to deal with wildfire and forest health, wealth creation and governance, and how to maximize the value of our forests. This concept is a perfect example, Honourable Speaker, of reconciliation and innovation in an era of climate change and, frankly, Honourable Speaker, an issue that I think we should be discussing here in question period rather than the games that we're seeing played opposite. Through you, Honourable Speaker, to the Minister of Forest, Lands and Natural Resources, there are a multitude of opportunities like the one proposed by UBC. We can and need to do better now, not tomorrow. What exactly will the Minister be doing in 2019 to overhaul our important forestry industry in British Columbia?
Minister of Forest, Lands and Natural Resources Operations.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. And, you know, I haven't had in all this fall question period session the ability to touch on the wildfire situation that occurred in 2018. The member used wildfire examples in his question, and I would just like to say and ask all members to join me in congratulating the BC Wildfire Service staff, the contractors, and the volunteers who ensured that not one single life was lost in the entire 2018. The member touched on a number of topics, and I'll be brief in my answer, but I wanted to first acknowledge the efforts that UBC is Faculty of Forestry is bringing. I met with the Dean, John Innes, to create an Okanagan campus National Indigenous Forestry School. And I know the Minister of Advanced Education is aware and eagerly awaiting to receiving a proposal around that. And that's in order to blend and ensure that Indigenous traditional ecological knowledge is combined with Western knowledge to better manage the forest sector. And that will involve ensuring that the forest sector is productive and ensures that we are managing with both First Nations and Western science.
Thank you.